Welcome everyone to the new session of the International Conference on Management, Governance and Leadership in a Multipolar World. In this session, we'll be dealing with strategic intelligence and risk management and the role of AI. We'll be covering ChatGPT, Bing Chat, intelligence, strategic intelligence, both from the business intelligence side and from the defense and security side. And so we'll be covering all these elements regarding the use of AI and the relevance of AI to strategic intelligence, the impact of generative AI, and so on. My name is Pedro Gonçalves. I'm an associate professor at Lusophone University of Humanities and Technologies, and I'm an integrated researcher at the Transdisciplinary Research Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Ecosystems, researching on complexity sciences, chaos theory, risk science, quantum technologies, and artificial intelligence, strategic studies, studies in intelligence and security, fintech and financial risk, epidemiological risk. Despite this scope of areas in which my research is developed, there are a few main research vectors to which this participation in the conference is related, namely risk science, chaos theory, and artificial intelligence applied to strategic studies and to studies in intelligence and security, covering both the business management dimension and the security dimension. So these are the main research vectors in which I'm developing my own research. This session, which is linked specifically to this research, is divided into 5 parts. In the first part, we'll be looking at globalization and intelligence markets. In the second part, we'll be looking at strategic intelligence and generative AI in terms of main concepts around the generative AI and its role in strategic intelligence, also the concept of intelligence and so on, and covering as well the role of AI in strategic intelligence. In part 3, we'll be looking at examples of applications of strategic intelligence, of generative AI in strategic intelligence, where we'll be asking an AI to generative AI to actually ChatGPT and Bing Chat to propose courses of action to make strategic recommendations. In part 4, we'll be looking at risk management and artificial intelligence. And in part 5, we'll be looking at the dark side of generative AI and lessons for intelligence and security. In all these sessions, we'll be covering both the defense and security standpoint and the standpoint of business intelligence. So strategic intelligence and risk management, the role of AI. First part, we'll be looking at globalization and intelligence markets. So globalization, which has been one of the main theme drivers of this conference, and multipolarity, so the impact of globalization and the rise of a new multipolar world order, and its impact in management, governance, and leadership has been one of the major subjects of this conference. And regarding strategic intelligence, this is a particularly important point because globalization has led to two trends. On the one hand, we have multipolarity leading to and exponential change leading to a rise in uncertainty. So and greater importance of intelligence both for the business, for business decisions, political decisions, and defense and security decisions. The main issue is that globalization is not only leading to a new multipolar world order, which in itself is a source of uncertainty, but the crossing of different cultural traditions and values and the intersection of this with exponential technological change is leading to a reduction of the strategic foresight horizons, increasing the strategic uncertainty. And here we have another element is also the ecological changes, especially linked to global warming. This is another factor of uncertainty. The issue is that intelligence is aimed at reducing strategic surprise and supporting better decisions, so informed decisions. But the main issue is that globalization is leading to this reduction of strategic foresight horizons and increasing uncertainty. On the other hand, globalization, especially linked to the fourth industrial revolution and the rise of big data and AI technologies, especially machine learning, applied to data science, which deals with also both with the data processing, the data preparation and processing, and the application of algorithms for knowledge extraction from data. This is leading to a new stage of intelligence that is linked to this ability to work with a great abundance of data. So this is the strategic intelligence digitalization, the other side of globalization, and especially of the fourth industrial revolution, which characterizes the current stage of globalization. So we have big data and AI leading to a data abundance, big data phenomenon leading to a data abundance, and AI allowing one to work with this big data and extracting relevant knowledge that we can use to make better decisions, more informed decisions. And we have here the AI, this big data, this data abundance and AI leading to new methods that allow us to work on different data types and integrate them in intelligence analytics synthesis that allow organizations, country security, and armed forces to make more informed decisions. And so we have this tensional dynamics. On the one hand, globalization leading to an increase in uncertainty, but on the other hand, also to an expansion of the ability of intelligence to work with data and to integrate different data sources and to work with different types of data, including text data, image, sound, and so on. And we have artificial intelligence with machine learning modules that are able to process written text, to process traditional data types, quantitative, qualitative, but also to process image and integrate and sound and integrate all these in data analytics that can support intelligence, both for the business side and for security and armed forces. So we have this new ability, which is critical to respond to the increased reduction of the strategic foresight horizons. So this big data and artificial intelligence revolution linked to the fourth industrial revolution has led to a rise of a specific, especially with the development of the Internet of Things, the ability to use to be online almost from everywhere you go. So the use of smart devices, smartphones, surfing the web, both on your computer but also on your smartphone, using social media and so on, has led to a data abundance on citizens. So Big Brother is here, even in democratic societies, and it is linked to this ability to process large amounts of data. So the strategic environment is changing at an exponential disruptive pace, and has led to what we call here, in terms of operative basis, to a new intelligence game. This is from a book I wrote on the new intelligence game. And what's this new intelligence game with its different players? It's a game that involves not only technologies, but also the dynamics and actors involved. We have new actors, new dynamics involved, and it's linked basically to a multi-billion-dollar market for intelligence. So basically, when you go to Facebook, when you go to Google, when you use search engines, and when you use social media, all that is retrieving your data. You're the product, basically. So you can use it, the social media as freely, because what's being sold is you. what's being sold is your data, your interaction patterns. So we have basically these companies like Google, or if you Alphabet is the parent company, but considering Google specifically, we have which now is a letter of the alphabet. When we look at companies like Facebook and so on, these are actually intelligence companies, business intelligence companies in this intelligence market. In fact, why? Because they are retrieving your data, and that data is being used for market purposes, for other companies that can target you with with directed marketing. And so we have here a new ecosystem and a multi-billion-dollar market with its own ecology of state and non-state players, including technology corporations that gather data, these companies like Google and so on a planetary scale, and use it to produce intelligence that can drive business value production. So the main clients are corporate clients, but in this market, the data brokers are key players that have positioned themselves as intermediaries in this trading, not only on data, but also on intelligence profiles, detailed intelligence profiles. And this is an important point because it's not just big data abundance, it's specialization, it's a detailed individual profile. So you have this individualization of data as well, detailed profile of each individual, of an individual's web searches, of the elements that an individual places online on his own life, his or her own life, image and so on, biographical data, interaction patterns with different social media platforms. So a platform, an online platform, an online website has a series of cookies, and if you look at it, it will your data may be shared with third parties, and those third parties will work your data for marketing purposes mainly. But so we have here data brokers that have positioned themselves as intermediaries in this trading, and they trade not only on data but on very detailed intelligence profiles on each individual. And these intelligence profiles that can be gathered on specific groups of individuals, and targeted marketing can be developed, digital marketing. So the digitalization of marketing here. And these data brokers that have profiles from internet users worldwide, these profiles can be sold and are consumed by the private sector, including political parties, even law enforcement and intelligence agencies can use these profiles. So this is already well established. The main issue that is raised here is one of privacy and data ownership. So an individual does not control how one's data is used, and there is very little transparency. One does not know the type of synthesis that are being produced by algorithms that are working on that individual's personalized data. So you have this big data, and that on the one hand, but this big data includes personalization of data regarding each individual, each internaut. So this is a major point. Of course, the data protection regulations, laws, and so on are trying to cover this problem, but data ownership is a major issue, and the decision of how one's data is used is very little in the hands of an individual. So your data is being used, but you can't control how that data is being used and who is consuming that data. So these are the intelligence markets that characterize current the intelligence ecosystem. And they include also not only the normal economy, but also an underground economy for intelligence. And we have intelligence mercenarism right now. in the form of hackers that can be hired to steal critical data from a target, including usually major corporations, or even expose a target, and activist groups that can initiate activist and non-activist groups that can initiate hybrid campaigns against targets. You can hire black hats. So activist groups are usually red hats. They are acting on a cause. Uh, some of them can also be black hats. So a black hat basically is a hacker that is operates in black markets for hacking, and they can be hired also to initiate hybrid campaigns against targets. And these range from corporations to states and even transnational entities. So we have this underground economy for hacking, on intelligence. Intelligence markets also have this underground economy where you can hire hackers, you can hire black hats to steal critical data from a target. You can hire black hats to disrupt a target, to initiate hybrid campaigns online to expose targets and so on. So operating also in the underground, besides these black hats, we also have transnational crime, which is also linked to black hats. Okay, so many criminal organizations, many crime syndicates operate in cybercrime. And we also have terrorist networks that are also employing intelligence activities online. So these are the intelligence markets. It's a global business. We are dealing with globalized markets for intelligence, for data theft, and also that can support intelligence warfare, that is warfare based on intelligence activities. So the role of AI in decision making. AI plays a major role in this new intelligence economy, since it allows big data would be useless if we didn't have the ability to work that data. And this includes not only data science, which deals with how to work that data in order to perform analysis, data cleaning, the so-called data wrangling. Okay, so that's the data science side. But also linked to data science, we have these the deployment of data analysis techniques to extract knowledge from data. And in these data analysis techniques, machine learning plays a major role, and AI, artificial intelligence, automation of these algorithms play a major role. And we have here then AI-powered decision making is another, which this is from World Economic Forum article regarding adopting AI responsibly and guidelines for procurement of AI solutions by the private sector. So this is an insight report from 2023 by Kumar and Lee. And it's the authors state that AI-powered decision-making is another common use case in enterprises. So it's dealing with corporate sector, where AI is used to analyze data and provide recommendations to decision makers. AI can be used to optimize pricing, identify new business opportunities, or even make investment decisions. And while AI is becoming an increasingly important tool for organizations, according to the authors, to fully realize its benefits, they need to invest in the necessary infrastructure, talent, and technologies. Additionally, business should address the challenges associated with acquiring and implementing AI solutions, such as lack of expertise, data privacy that we talked about, and security concerns also. So the ability, and these are major issues. And hacking AI systems can poison an organization if there is an automation of a data science pipeline, and you are deploying AI algorithms to automatically work data, and this is and if this becomes so automated that it is unchecked, and a hacker changes the algorithm or changes or interferes with the AI processing, that type of cyber attack could poison an organization's business intelligence. Talking about a private organization, or a corporate a corporation. Okay, so talking about the corporate sector now. But also from the defense and security side, this is a relevant issue, not just corporate cybersecurity. The interference with automated data processing is an important point because one can bias the synthesis produced by these systems, and this is another issue. But also data privacy, security of data is another point, and we need to take into account in this new intelligence economy, and it's a major issue. Also, data ownership and data sharing, which is linked to the privacy point. So considering now, exemplifying now how an AI is used. So one of the major disruptive technologies that has come to the new intelligence economy is the generative AI. So generative AI solutions are disruptive, are disrupting various fields. They came very rapidly. Once ChatGPT was deployed, we now have several generations and advances, rapid advances in that technology. And one of these is Bing Chat. So Bing Chat is an enhanced search engine, is an enhanced search solution that incorporates a chatbot that is able to process text, that is able to process different sources, read text, and produce synthesis that send this synthesis reply to your questions, can reply to the AI replies to your questions with this synthesis that and these synthesis, these answers resend to several quotes, so they quote the sources. So if we ask it one, considering an AI, this AI Bing Chat, and we'll be working also with ChatGPT in this presentation, but considering Bing Chat and placing it one of the major questions of the current conference, what are the consequences of the new multipolar world order? Well, Bing Chat replies to this question in the following way. That's a very complex and interesting question. There is no definitive answer, but I can share some perspectives from different sources. And then it starts by quoting an article by Michael A. Peters that the new multipolar world order is characterized by the emergence of three dominant poles: the United States, China, and the European Union. So we have here already this is a diagnosis and an analysis that is we already have here intelligence-based synthesis that we can work upon. From a geopolitical standpoint, it makes you a diagnostic around the consequences of the new multipolar world order, and it already started by selecting a reference that identifies which are the main new power poles, great power poles, and it identifies the United States, China, and the European Union, as well as other regional and global actors that have different levels of economic and political influence. So it identifies in this multipolar world order three major powers: United States, China, and the European Union, but also rising regional powers and global powers. And it argues that this multipolar world order is shaped by the shift in the center of economic gravity. And it's important to notice one thing. It uses boldface in different parts of the text, and this is interesting because the AI is actively selecting the most important parts of its answer, the highlights of its answer, and basically it speaks of three dominant poles. Then the shift of the center of economic gravity from the transatlantic democracies to Asia. So we now have here the diagnostic, a synthesis of diagnostic of what is the transformations involved in the new multipolar world order. So you have the shift of economic gravity from the transatlantic democracies to Asia, and this is a geoeconomic change with geopolitical influences, and especially China as one of them, as a major power in this shift. Decline of the colonial world system that gave rise to new emerging powers like India, Brazil, Indonesia, and Nigeria. So we have here information, and an intelligence analyst can use this answer as one more source of information, like speaking to a human intelligence. An intelligence analyst can now also speak to a chatbot that provides the perspectives from different sources and synthesizes them in a generated answer. So it's not human because you're not interacting with a human. It's using, even though it replies to your question, it provides the perspective from different sources. It doesn't mean that it's exhaustive. So you need to consider all intelligence sources relevant to the problem, to the intelligence problem, but it provides answers and a starting point that an intelligence analyst can use, and the intelligence analyst should check the references given by the AI. And in this case, for instance, Michael A. Peters, it resends here to the footnote, and you can click on it and check the original reference. And this is a starting point for further analysis using open source intelligence, which is what this AI is using. So the issue is that you now have not, this is not human, this is algorithmic intelligence, algo-int. And it can be used as another source of, as another intelligence source besides human and other intelligence sources. So, okay, continuing. According to a report by Morgan Stanley, okay, a second quote by the AI, the new multipolar world order is driven by the increased rivalry between the US and China. So it identifies here a point of competition, of great power competition, especially between these two poles, US and China, which has contributed to deglobalization and decoupling in multiple spheres, ranging from technology, security, health policy, financial markets, and corporate governance. Now, here it identifies another problem, which is deglobalization. So we have globalization, but we also have deglobalization. Deglobalization in this case does not mean that we have a stop in globalization, actually. It does mean is that we have centers that are decoupling spheres from specific global linkages to act regionally, to reinforce their regional or national base of interaction, decoupling it from specific globalized linkages. And this is the issue. So we have here attentional dynamics. And this breakdown in specific globalized linkages is also linked to a breakdown in to a loss of power of specific of influence of specific players like the US. And this is a relevant point. And it's one of the points of competition because the US wants to regain its power, its global power, but we now have these other centers of power that are shifting and that are trying to sustain themselves as new centers of power, regional actors as well, and to that want to then to reinforce their regional and national linkages and then expand. So they suggest that this multipolar world order has significant implications for global business strategy and the investment landscape, favoring companies and sectors that have regional and local supply chains and services key to national interests. So this is the issue of deglobalization. We have globalization on one hand, especially in the digital on the digital side, but we have also here an attempt at the multipolarity leads to an attempt to decouple specific supply chains and services to reinforce national and regional linkages in new supply chain links and also cyber links key to national interests of the countries involved, while posing challenges to those that have globally integrated supply chains and technology and health security liabilities. So we have this problem of we have this tensional dynamics, which is linked to this transformation in globalization. According to a news article by Deutsche Welle, the new multipolar world order is also influenced by the expansion of BRICS. So the new bloc: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. We have these new competing blocs that challenge especially U.S. dominance and U.S. dominated globalized supply chains. Okay, so linked mainly with globalized with U.S. based multinationals. And we have here then different new poles of development, and the AI answers the question fairly well in terms of synthesizing major points. What if now we asking another question to the AI: what is the relevance of artificial intelligence, of AI, to the new multipolar world order? And the Bing Chat AI, which is a generative AI in the sense that it generates patterns from data it processes with integrated machine learning. We'll be seeing that shortly. It states that AI is a relevant and influential a factor in the new multipolar world order, and is affected by the changing global dynamics in different ways. So AI is a key driver of technological innovation and competition among the major poles of the world, especially the US and China, which are indeed in a race for AI dominance, both investing heavily in AI research and development, as well as applying AI to various domains such as defense, health, education, finance, and governance. Then it also says that AI, and it quotes the reference, you can consult the original reference. AI is also a source of tension and cooperation among different countries, and as they seek to balance their national interests, ethical values, and global norms regarding the use and regulation of AI. AI is a catalyst for organizational resilience and transformation in a multipolar world, as it enables businesses and institutions to adapt to changing market conditions, customer expectations, and regulatory environments. And AI can help organizations automate and optimize their processes, predict and respond to trends, and create seamless experiences for their stakeholders. So stakeholder value creation here. AI can also help organizations leverage their data and insights to identify new opportunities and challenges in different regions and sectors. And finally, it's a challenge for global governance and collaboration in a multipolar world, since it raises complex and urgent issues such as data privacy, security, accountability, fairness, and human rights, and poses existential risks such as autonomous weapons, superintelligence, which is a major transhumanist theme. It's difficult to define what is intelligence. How do you quantify intelligence, and how will you define superintelligence? It's a badly defined point. It's transhumanism looks at superintelligence as linked to the singularity, the technological singularity, and it's basically related to speed of processing and a rising, fast rising ability to solve problems. Okay, so computing different scenarios and selecting them with exponentially rising ability. You can define it in different ways, but it's complicated. It's a complicated term, because how do you define a scale for intelligence, even comparing different natures? So it's more of it's more of it's an ill-defined concept. and it's difficult to define it in terms of quantification of a scale for intelligence, a generalized scale for intelligence. So an amoeba is able to solve its problems. Humans, supposedly on a higher evolutionary scale, are creating problems for themselves and for the planet, and challenging their own sustainability as a biological species. So the scale of intelligence here needs to be considered. Um, so intelligent people can have very stupid behavior. So this is a problem. But what does super intelligence mean? And actually, singularity would correspond more to an AI awareness, an AI awakening, and the rise of a self-awareness that would rewrite its initial conditions. So this is not exactly the same thing, and it would escape control. So that would be more closely the point. And it's linked to hardware as well, not just software. It's also linked to hardware and the relationship between hardware and software. So social manipulation that require global coordination, and this is a problem now with the application of AI, and regulation, the regulatory issues with the AI. With the AI, we have a rising innovation landscape and disruptive transformations, and governments' regulation lags behind it. So it's a problem. AI also offers potential solutions for global problems such as climate change, poverty, health, and education that provide collective action and innovation. These are some of the aspects of the AI's relevance to the new multipolar world order. So you have here the artificial cognitive synthesis of an AI. We have here AIs participating in this session of the conference. And this artificial cognitive synthesis answering a few of the questions around that are the critical questions from this conference. What are the main challenges to strategic intelligence from a multipolar world order? Another question for Bing Chat. And here, the main challenges to strategic intelligence from a multipolar world order, according to the AI, is increasing complexity and uncertainty of the global environment, which makes it harder to anticipate and respond to emerging threats and opportunities. This was discussed at the beginning of this session, exactly regarding the reduction of the foresight horizon, as well as to assess the intentions and capabilities of different actors. So we have here the reduction of the foresight horizon and the rising of uncertainty that we talked about. Strategic intelligence requires more diverse and reliable sources of information, more sophisticated analytical methods and tools, and more agile and adaptive decision-making processes. And here we have one problem, which is if you use these AI systems, they need to select, for instance, if you use a system that includes this type of technology, generative AI for intelligence, you have a problem, which is how does the AI select its sources? And if you have a bulk of fake media online, and social media elements as well, and the AI is processing them, it can be processing fake content. So this selection of true content versus fake content needs to be considered. So the quoting a source and checking the reliability of this source is a key it's a key point needed for AI application in the reduction of the strategic surprise, which is a key point for the production of strategic foresight, the major objective of strategic intelligence. The intensifying cooperation and conflict among major poles of the world, especially the US and China, creates risks of escalation, miscalculation, and miscommunication. And strategic intelligence requires more effective communication and coordination among allies and partners, more robust deterrence and crisis management mechanisms, and more constructive dialogue and cooperation with adversaries on areas of common interests. So shifting balance of power and influence among different regions and sectors of the world, which creates new opportunities and challenges for advancing national interests and values. Strategic intelligence requires more comprehensive understanding of regional dynamics and trends, more nuanced appreciation of the cultural and historical factors, and more flexible and tailored engagement strategies. So this is a good synthesis about the main challenges that strategic intelligence faces from a multipolar world order. And this wraps up the first part, which is how globalization, the relation between the globalization and intelligence markets, and the role of AI in intelligence. Now, in the second part, to which we now go, is we have already seen a few answers from a generative AI, so we need to look a little bit closer at what is intelligence, what is strategic intelligence, and what is AI and a generative AI. So let's look at this. So looking first at intelligence, this is a quote from Maria Odete Madeira, my mother, who's a philosophy researcher, also interdisciplinary researcher in ontology, systems science, systems philosophy, cognitive science, neurocognition, and so on. And the concept of intelligence is here quoted. Intelligence, which is root in intelligentsia, Latin, term composed of intus, which means within, and legere, which means to choose, to elect. So intelligence is a dispositional systemic capability to perceive, capture, select, and process data and knowledge from cognitive co-dynamics linked to dynamics of interpretation and comprehension genetically incorporated in all the systems. So this is a definition of intelligence from a cognitive, this is working with the cognitive basis. So that is not specifically within the intelligence studies in the area of intelligence and security. So this is a general definition of intelligence. So, and in the context of intelligence and security, how can we define strategic intelligence and tactical intelligence? Well, we can work with this definition, and from this definition, add a few points. So strategic intelligence. What's strategic intelligence? By strategic intelligence, we can understand all activities that involve, and here we work with this definition, the perception, capturing, selection, and processing of data and knowledge from cognitive co-dynamics. We're working with that definition, linked to dynamics of interpretation and comprehension towards the production of knowledge necessary to strategic decision. So we have this definition, and we have all activities involved here in the with a specific goal, which is the production of knowledge necessary to strategic decision. What about tactical intelligence? And tactical intelligence is the same. All the part of the definition of intelligence, all activities, in this case, tactical intelligence, that involve what? The perception, capturing, selection, and processing of data and knowledge from cognitive co-dynamics, linked to dynamics of interpretation and comprehension. So this is the part taken from the worked from this definition. And now we add here the extra element towards what? The production of knowledge necessary to tactical decision. Then considering strategic intelligence and tactical intelligence, the issue that raises what is strategy and what is a tactic. Strategy is rooted in the Greek strategia, from strategos, general, which in turn has origin in stratos, with the meaning of that which is placed in order, military force, and agos, with the meaning of leader, from again, to lead. The genetics of the term strategy commits it as a matricial notion to the sense of leadership. So strategy can be understood as the art of the general. The strategist should show or orient towards alternative options and paths to be followed, making evident a sense of cognitively controlled autonomy, and the concept of strategy is rooted and committed to a primitive sense of action, arbitrio, and control. Arbitrio in Latin term. Okay. So we here have strategies defines the path towards our end game, towards our major objectives, our strategic objectives. What is the tactic then? The tactic is rooted in the Latin tactica, which is in turn rooted in the Greek tactike techne, as the art of ordering. So this is the difference between strategy and tactic. Strategy, we're talking about the major ways, the path that needs to be followed to attain our objectives. The tactic, on the other hand, is the art of putting in order in a way that fills the fulfillment of the strategy. So it's a combinatory art, it's the art of combination, of arranging our means to and deploying them and operationalizing them. So we then have the bridge to the operational level in order to fulfill our strategy. So it comes from tacticos, fit for ordering, and tasso, to order, to arrange. The tactical level then involves the combinatory of means, motion, and acting at the times of opportunity, the kairos, Greek concept, times of opportunity, towards this, in philosophy, a major concept here for Aristotle, towards the successful implementation of the strategy. Tactical objectives are, in this way, fluidly set towards the fulfillment of the strategic objectives. So their functionality is towards the fulfillment. The tactical objectives are defined with a functionality as a function of the fulfillment of the strategy, which in turn is aimed at the fulfilling of specific strategic objectives. So the tactic is the combinatory of means. To a same strategy, for a same strategy, we may have different combinatory of means and motion. And when we go to the operational level, this is even more fluid, and they may have to be adaptations within this operational level, and the tactics may change a bit. So the tactics are more fluid than strategy. The tactical level is more fluid than the strategic level, and the operational level even more fluid. So considering the intelligence process, we'll be looking here at strategic intelligence mainly, and considering the intelligence process, we have here the intelligence cycle. It's this version is from the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, and basically you have the planning and direction, which clearly has to define the intelligence problem. And from here we have to consider the specific intelligence requirements. That is, we need to look at. So we need to circumscribe well the problem, and this comes from governance, so it comes from the top. So what is our problem, and to solve this problem, what do we need to know? What do we need to know to solve this problem? And from that, what do we from what we need to know, what do we already know, and what do we not know? So what we do not know, we need to, considering what we do not know but need to know, we need to develop intelligence activities to extract the knowledge necessary. So to answer those questions, what we do not know but need to know, and in order to know, we need to develop our intelligence activities. So this planning and direction also defines the plan for around these questions, around the issues that we need to know to solve our problem. And this plan includes also the sources of information, the so-called intelligence sources that may answer those that may answer especially the unknowns that need to be answered. And those intelligence sources, then knowing the different types of intelligence sources that we will need, and the specific intelligence requirements, we then go to the collection, to the data collection. And we can collect it from different sources, human sources. We have human intelligence that corporations also implement. So it's not cannot be confused. Human intelligence cannot be confused with espionage. Espionage is one way of obtaining information, and it can include humint. It can include cyberint. So a spy can use cyber tools to hack a system and to steal data as well, and that also is espionage. So espionage is a wider term, and we need to be careful not to confuse humint with espionage. For instance, if you do a survey to your clients, it is not espionage, and it is humint because it's gathering information from human sources. Okay, talking to someone is humint. To obtain information relevant to a problem is human intelligence. Okay. Collection. So the collection, we collect information from different sources, including open source intelligence, so open sources, and so on. That collection from different sources then can be combined, and we have then the processing and exploitation. So the processing of all the information and the synthesis, the data processing, and we can automate here a lot the collection. In some cases, the collection regarding big data, we have strong automation here in collection, and then in processing, data wrangling, and so on. Here we have data science entering into the problem, especially in processing, and we have AI and machine learning being used here a lot in processing and exploitation. Analysis and production. So analysis and production is usually the domain of the human, but we have here to take into account that AIs can also analyze, can also produce synthesis. Algorithm enters here in, so AIs bridge the gap between bridge these two stages. They are present in these two stages: processing and analysis and production of intelligence. Especially generative AI can enter here. But we need to be careful because generative AI can lie. And this is one of the major problems that was considered by intelligence community regarding generative AI. So we have to program the AI so that it quotes its sources and allows the intelligence analyst to check them. But we'll see here, we'll detail here the use of generative AI in intelligence analysis. So in this specific stage, analysis and production, and we'll see that it doesn't replace the intelligence analyst. One of the major issues here in the intelligence cycle is the automation process of the intelligence cycle that corporations do and also intelligence agencies can do, is basically the construction of artificial intelligence systems which operate as artificial operation systems that collect data, process them, and apply machine learning and AI and other automated data analysis tools to provide a synthesis and even some analytics reports that can be used by the human analyst and combined with other information sources in order to produce an intelligence report that then can be disseminated and integrated and given as a solution to our major problem or our intelligence problems that were established in the planning and direction stage. So the automation of the intelligence cycle is a major issue here. Considering then this point in greater detail, we have an example of how strategic intelligence has integrated AI. China, artificial intelligence has been used by China for a few years now. We're talking about in 2018, an article came out that stated that China had an AI supporting its foreign policy making. And the algorithm, this is algoint, algorithmic intelligence, worked on a huge amount of data with information ranging from cocktail party gossip to images taken by spy satellites to contribute to strategies in Chinese diplomacy. This according to an article published that was then made news headlines around the use of AI in strategic intelligence, in this case in foreign policy. So we already have AI being used for this. And considering AI, we've already saw the interactions with the AI, answering questions, the case of a generative AI, in this case being chat. And the question is, what is artificial intelligence? And we need to be careful when we look at artificial intelligence, because there are two senses in which the word can be used. First, we have artificial intelligence as a scientific field, which is a branch of computer science that researches cognition in artificial systems. And then we have artificial intelligence as a technological artifact, an engineering product produced by the AI as a produced by the artificial intelligence as a scientific field. So the scientific field researches artificial cognition or cognition in artificial systems, but it also produces artificial intelligences as technological artifacts. And in this case, we are dealing with algorithmic tools with effectivenesses that can be determined by the type of applications to which these tools were designed, for which these tools were designed. That's their functionality. In the case of chatbots using generative AI, they can be used as tools for strategic intelligence. Let's consider another example. Here we are dealing with interpretation of an event. So how does an AI system interpret an event, in this case, the Wagner Group rebellion, and alternative views regarding that event? I placed the question just after the Wagner Group rebellion to ChatGPT regarding the possibility of the Wagner Group rebellion being Putin's idea. That is, the possibility of Putin and Prigozhin having being in collusion with Putin in this stratagem to catch to see what would happen in a staged rebellion as a strategic way. In fact, there are many possibilities here. One of them is a strategic for a deception to see who adhered to the rebellion itself, a way to displace the Wagner Group troops from an area to another, in this case to Belarus and to near the border, and with both Ukraine and other countries, which raised the threat to NATO. And this was considered a threat to NATO. The Wagner Group going to Belarus. So it may have different objectives here, simultaneous objectives with a single stratagem. And the issue is, and Putin has more or less this profile. With a single move, he can be playing on multiple chessboards at the same time. And a single move is a move in these multiple linked chessboards, has multiple objectives in different chessboards. But the AI does not analyze this exactly. It analyzes a point regarding possible motives for the Wagner Group rebellion to be Putin's idea. We'll be seeing that answer. So, but this is an idea. This issue comes out of Sun Tzu's Art of War. Warfare is the way, the Tao of deception. And when you are capable displaying capability, also when one is united, display to the enemy a fake confusion that you are divided instead of united. This is one of the stratagems that is present throughout the Chinese military classics, especially Sun Tzu's Art of War. So it could be a stratagem even to fool Western intelligence. So looking at here, let's look at the answer. The answer is from the AI is that there is no definitive evidence that the Wagner Group rebellion was Putin's idea. On the contrary, most sources suggest that the rebellion was a serious challenge to Putin's authority and a sign of his weakening grip on power. Putin publicly denounced the rebels as traitors and vowed to punish them, but he actually did not punish them exactly, okay? Rather, strategically displaced Wagner Group, changed here a little bit the profile in terms of displacement of strategic strategic placement of the group. He also thanked Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, who essentially obeys Putin. So Lukashenko's move is largely what Putin would want him to do. He would not anger Putin. For his mediation efforts that helped end the crisis peacefully. Some analysts speculated that Putin may have secretly authorized Prigozhin's actions in order to test his loyalty or to create a pretext for crackdown on dissent. However, there is no clear proof of this hypothesis, but it is a hypothesis, and let's see. It continues that the rebellion exposed the rift and discontent of the Russian military establishment and so on, but it's in this paragraph that we have the argument. So the argument raised by the AI is that some analysts speculated that Putin may have secretly authorized Prigozhin's actions. Why? In order to test his loyalty or to create a pretext for crackdown on dissent. However, there is no clear proof of this hypothesis. So this is taken from where did the AI go to synthesize this answer? It went to The Guardian. Let's look at the Guardian quote that supported the AI's answer. The Prigozhin-Shoigu feud, and this is and we need to take into account that this is the Guardian's piece on the Wagner Group's rebellion, and we clicking on it, we see that they state that appeared to be real, but in Putin's opaque system, more of an Ottoman court than a Western-style government, it was hard to tell. So here the AI got the point that it's hard to tell whether this was actually this was actually not a stratagem and an actual rebellion. This was what called the AI's start of the analysis for that paragraph. For more than this paragraph. For more than 2 decades, Putin has played the role of supreme arbiter-in-chief, playing off one ambitious Kremlin faction against another. It was the old tactic of divide and rule. Prigozhin has previously proven himself to be a loyal ally entrusted with special state tasks, including the attempt to sabotage the 2016 US presidential election. According to one interpretation, Prigozhin's bitter public crusade against Shoigu, which is the major justification for the rebellion, was licensed by the man at the top. So this is the AI used this part of the text to produce this. May have secretly authorized Prigozhin's actions in order to test his loyalty or to create a pretext for a crackdown on dissent. So this is an inference. It's not actually here explicitly. It's an inference from different evidence, and the AI used that evidence to produce this inference that Putin may have secretly authorized Prigozhin's actions in order to test his loyalty or to create a pretext for a crackdown on dissent. And what's the reasons that the AI got for this possibility? First, that Putin has always played this role of supreme arbiter-in-chief and pitting one Kremlin faction against the other, dividing them in order to keep his power. And the fact that Prigozhin has always been a loyal ally, second evidence, and the other is the possibility of the public crusade against Shoigu having been licensed by Putin himself. So Putin is feeding that division, that public crusade of Prigozhin's against Shoigu. And this possibility led the AI to conclude, to infer that the fact that this public crusade, for these reasons, may have been supported by Putin, led the AI to infer that Putin may have sanctioned, may have secretly authorized Prigozhin's actions, even in this rebellion, in order to test his loyalty, or as a pretext for crackdown on dissent from the Russian military forces themselves. Okay, regular forces that might betray Putin and ally themselves with the Wagner group. People to prevent an actual internal coup, coup d'état, that might for deposing Putin from the regular military forces themselves. So, in order to anticipate that possibility, Putin might have supported the Wagner Group rebellion. Asking the same question. So I asked this question, the AI answered it, and then I again asked the question, slightly different, but the AI had just given me this answer. Was the Wagner Group rebellion Putin's idea? It answered this, and then right away I asked it, after it gave me that answer, did Putin secretly authorize Wagner Group's mutiny? And the AI remembered having given the previous answer, and it said, as I said before, there is no definitive answer that Putin secretly authorized the Wagner Group's mutiny. This is a speculation that some analysts have made, but it is not based on any solid facts or sources. Therefore, I cannot answer this question with certainty. In this context, a human might say, I don't know, or that's a good question, but I don't have the answer. So I stated that I told the AI that was a good answer, and the AI thanked me and appreciated my feedback. Okay, so it's amusing that the AI almost seemed annoyed that I was asking the same question again. I already answered that question. I don't know. Okay, some analysts say that. So, but we in this context, there's insufficient intelligence, of course, and both narratives are possible regarding that it was Putin or it was not Putin who supported, and the AI states as a conclusion that it doesn't know. So a human might say, I don't know, cannot answer this question with certainty. So it recognizes the uncertainty here. Interestingly, if there was a certainty that Putin did not authorize, it would state that Putin did not authorize. So it recognizes the intelligence uncertainty associated here. And this is linked to the source that it used, which speaks of the opaque system and the fact of it appeared to be real, but there is uncertainty around this. So it reflected on that, it reflected that uncertainty in its answer. So I asked also Bing Chat, what are the main advantages of consulting you for strategic intelligence work? And the AI answered it can access, and here we have the main advantages of using a generative AI for strategic intelligence work. We'll be seeing the limits shortly. I can access and analyze a large amount of information from various sources in a short time using advanced natural language processing and machine learning techniques. I can provide informative, visual, logical, and actionable responses that are tailored to your specific needs and goals using markdown rendering elements and generative content capabilities. I can communicate fluently in multiple languages and adapt to your preferred mode of interaction, such as balanced, creative, or precise. We'll be seeing this balanced, creative, or precise modes shortly. I can help you with generating, rewriting, improving, optimizing your content. And then it speaks of poems. Okay, so this is already a divergence from and create and draw images for you on request using a generative image query. Okay, so but this is the relevant part. The first 3 points are the relevant the parts for the using such an AI for strategic intelligence work. Does the creative mode, this is my next question, does the creative mode invent information or does it provide factual information? So I'm using the creative mode, this purple-like multipolar is the creative mode. We'll be seeing the other two modes shortly. So balanced, creative, or precise. The creative mode does not invent information, but it may provide factual information in a creative way. For example, it may use a metaphor to explain a concept or a joke to illustrate a point. It makes inferences like the one we just saw. It picks up the text and makes inferences sustained by that text. And you need to consult the original source to see how it made that inference, you intelligence analyst. And it does not make false or misleading claims. However, the creative mode may also generate content that is not based on factual information, such as poems, stories, code, essays, songs, celebrity parodies, and more. These are meant to be examples of creative expression, not factual statements. So this is the creative mode. Artificial intelligence. Then let's look at a little bit more at artificial intelligence. So, Chat Bing and Bing Chat and ChatGPT, Bing Chat, and so on. They contain machine learning elements, and machine learning means that artificial intelligence systems are programmed to adapt and learn from data. Generative AI, on the other hand, which is ChatGPT and Bing Chat, is an AI product that not only learns from data, but is capable of generating patterns, in this case, capable of generating speech, as well as other patterns, including, as they said here, generative image query, create, draw images. So it is capable of generating that. The first question now that I place to another generative AI, let's see how it answers, what is the role of AI systems in strategic intelligence? But in this case, not placed to Bing Chat, but rather to ChatGPT. Let's see how ChatGPT answers this question. How? What is the role of AI systems in strategic intelligence? Second question, what is the role of artificial operations systems that we already talked about, the automation of intelligence cycle, in strategic intelligence? Let's see how it answers this question. So first, artificial intelligence. The role of artificial intelligence, AI systems in strategic intelligence. ChatGPT's element states that AI systems play a crucial role in strategic intelligence by augmenting human capabilities in data analysis, pattern recognition, and decision making. And some of the key roles for AI systems in strategic intelligence are the following: data analysis and processing. So analyzing large volumes of structured and unstructured data, including text, images, and videos, and extracting relevant information. We already talked about this use of AI. Pattern recognition and anomaly detection. AI systems excel at recognizing patterns and anomalies within data by analyzing historical data and identifying recurring patterns or deviations from the norm. And they can assist in detecting emerging threats, risks, or opportunities that human analysts may overlook. So they're being used as a way to expand on human analysts as a tool for intelligence expansion, enhancing the work of the human analyst. Even in the first point, this is also the issue in data analysis and processing. They can process and organize data more efficiently than humans, enabling faster identification of trends, patterns, and correlations that may inform strategic decision making. So both of these points are linked to this part, to processing and exploitation, this part of the intelligence cycle, bridging to the human analyst then. Predictive analysis, AI systems can employ machine learning algorithms. This is still ChatGPT's answer. Machine learning algorithms to analyze historical data and generate predictive models. This is true. So these models can help forecast potential future scenarios, anticipate trends, and assess the potential outcomes of different strategic decisions. Predictive analysis can enhance the understanding of complex situations and support proactive decision making. We'll be seeing predictive analysis, predictive analytics being deployed for COVID-19 shortly in this video series, in this session, but not still in this part of the session. Information fusion. AI systems can integrate and analyze data from different sources, including open source intelligence, sensor networks, social media, and more. By fusing information from multiple channels, AI systems provide a comprehensive and real-time view of the intelligence landscape, enabling analysts to make well-informed assessments and recommendations. Natural language processing, so they can process human language, produce an automated analysis of great quantities of text. So this is useful for analyzing documents, sentiment analysis, reports, news articles, social media content, and this largely helps. So one of the jobs, one of the sources for intelligence analysis has been in the past looking at news pieces from target countries, so and highlighting them in terms of relevant intelligence bases that could be extracted from them, relevant points for intelligence production. The issue here is that these news articles can now be, and social media content and so on, can be integrated and analyzed by artificial intelligence systems that are capable of reading text, integrating also image processing and so on. Decision support and scenario analysis can assist in decision making by providing recommendations, alternative courses of action, and scenario analysis. By simulating different scenarios and assessing their potential outcomes, AI systems help strategic intelligence analysts evaluate the risks and benefits associated with various options, aiding in effective decision making. Automation and efficiency. Again, automate repetitive and time-consuming tasks such as data collection, data cleaning, and basic analysis. And here we have, it frees up the human analysts to focus on higher level thinking, complex analysis, and critical decision making. So this is human-machine collaboration, not replacement. AI systems increase efficiency by handling routine tasks at scale, enabling analysts to dedicate more time to strategic analysis. So it's the automation of these two sides, collection, processing, and exploitation, and a part of analysis that can be produced by the AI, especially generative AI, that can support a human analyst in his more advanced analysis. So it's this part, but it's majorly this part, collection and processing and exploitation, that can be automated, which leads us to and here is the major point. It's important to note that while AI systems offer powerful analytical capabilities, human expertise and contextual understanding remain essential in strategic intelligence, and so AI systems should be seen as tools to augment human intelligence rather than replacing human analysts, as human judgment, creativity, and domain expertise are vital for interpreting and contextualizing the insights provided by AI systems. And this is a major point when you use especially generative AI. You need domain expertise in order to contextualize and expand on what that AI has provided you, as well as methods of looking at checking, fact-checking, looking at sources, and so on. And this was the answer of ChatGPT, and it's a very good answer. On AO systems. AO systems, or artificial intelligence and operation systems, can play a significant role in strategic intelligence. Here are some ways in which AO systems, artificial operation systems, can contribute: data collection and analysis, again, pattern recognition and anomaly detection, we already saw, predictive analysis, automation and efficiency, decision support, capabilities by presenting relevant information, recommendations, and alternative courses of action to the strategic intelligence analysts. So this is one important point. The decision support and scenario analysis, because basically it's here alternative courses of action, recommendations, and alternative courses of action. That is, you can ask, you can develop an artificial operation systems based on AI that can produce recommendations. That's the major point that we saw regarding China's foreign policy AI. And we'll be seeing in the next part of this presentation, specifically how an AI may answer those, may provide alternative courses of action, how a generative AI may produce recommendations for alternative courses of action that the strategists or strategic intelligence specialists may look at and consider. So these systems can aid in scenario analysis, risk assessment, and evaluating the potential impact of different strategies, helping decision makers make informed decisions. Information fusion can integrate, so automation of intelligence linked to artificial operation systems, intelligence operation systems, can integrate and fuse data from multiple sources, including structured and unstructured data, to provide a comprehensive and unified view of the intelligence landscape. This can facilitate a more holistic understanding of complex situations, enabling analysts to connect the dots and generate actionable intelligence. So this is one of the major advantages of these systems. But they are not replacing the human analysts. They are tools to augment their capabilities again. And this is ChatGPT's answer. It's a good answer. Human judgment, creativity, and contextual understanding are still crucial in strategic intelligence and so on. So it's the same diagnosis. So here we have the major point, which is the automation of this part collection and process and exploitation, and integration of different sources that can support then the analysis and production. And the AI is being used as a tool in this process. And the artificial operation systems can go up to here. But here we have the need for the analysts to be at the end point, looking at everything and producing the final intelligence report. It does not replace the analyst, the intelligence analyst. So use of generative AI in strategic intelligence, there are a few major concerns. ChatGPT, for instance, may produce inaccurate information about people, places, or facts, so we need to fact check. Bing Chat provides the sources, so you can fact check. Strategic intelligence AI should quote their sources for facts. This is a major point, allowing the intelligence analyst to verify the source and expand even on what the AI produced. In this way, the report produced by a generative AI is a starting point rather than another. It's like another intelligence source, an algorithmic intelligence tool. This is a point that we all already covered. So third part of this presentation regards the strategic intelligence and generative AI examples of applications. We already saw a few, but in what we saw is largely interpretation. Specifically, was the interpretation of the Wagner Group's rebellion and how the AI looked at this Wagner Group's rebellion. In this case, we'll be using the Bing Chat, but we'll also be using ChatGPT. It's distinct. Bing Chat is distinct from ChatGPT. It's powered by the same model for OpenAI, but it's a bit different. And we'll start by looking at Bing Chat being used specifically for strategic intelligence in action recommendation. This is what we'll see now. And it's basically Bing Chat is an enhanced search system. So it can be used as a smart enhanced search system. So let's use the creative mode. In the creative mode, we have here, we ask the system how to increase the number of tourists in Lisbon. So this is the question. And this question is asking for alternative courses of action, is asking for basically for a strategy, tourism strategy to increase the number of tourists in Lisbon. So this is strategic intelligence aimed at the business, the tourist economy. So we're dealing with this point. And the Bing Chat answers it starts by making a diagnostic regarding tourism that you can check, going to Statista, and it quotes the sources, stating that according to statistics of tourism in Portugal in 2022, there was a significant increase in the number of tourists compared to 2021, but still below the pre-pandemic levels of 2020. Lisbon was the region with the most overnight stays, diagnostic, followed by the north and the center. The main countries of origin of the tourists were Spain, United States, United Kingdom, Germany, and France. So this is a diagnostic section. The next section regards some possible ways to increase the number of tourists in Lisbon. And here we have recommendations. Promote the cultural, historical, and gastronomic diversity of the city, highlighting its monuments, museums, events, and culinary specialties. So here we have a proposal focusing on cultural tourism, on a branch of cultural tourism, historical and gastronomic, synergizing these elements, cultural, historical, and gastronomic uh, elements. This is the first proposal. Invest in environmental and social sustainability of tourism, encouraging ecological and responsible practices by visitors and tourism service providers. Another proposal linked to sustainable tourism and the sustainability of tourism. Another proposal, a strategic proposal, is to improve the accessibility and mobility in the city, facilitating public transport, bike lanes, pedestrian areas, and signage. Strengthening security and quality of health services, ensuring that tourists feel protected and supported in case of emergency or need. Stimulate cooperation among different actors in the tourism sector, such as public entities, business associations, universities, and civil society organizations, to create synergies and innovative projects that value Lisbon as a tourist destination. So this is the answer. The same question in Portuguese would lead to the same answer by more or less the same answer by it's the same answer actually, but the sources are different, are slightly different. These sources were U.S. sources or international sources in English. These sources now are Portuguese sources that it uses, but it makes it the same diagnostic is the same, and the proposals are the same. If we go to the more precise style of conversation, which appears in green, so it can be the creative, more balanced, or more precise. The more precise, it does not mean that that creative level is imprecise. It means that it provides answers creatively, or it adds a lot of interpretation and can provide you more detailed answers actually. The more precise mode provides you shorter answers that do not diverge from sources. So it doesn't add an additional interpretational layer, but both sides, both methods quote their sources. And for strategy recommendation, this mode is actually very good in terms of producing a certain diversity of measures. This mode actually produces a shorter number of measures, but while producing a short number of measures, it can complement this one. So it can produce a few additional strategic insights that can be added to this one. So when you were looking for using Bing Chat for a strategy, you should use the 3 styles of conversation and ask exactly the same question to the 3 styles. It provides a few additional elements. For instance, here it provides a report by Michael Porter on the tourism cluster in Lisbon, stating that some ways to increase the competitiveness of tourism cluster and make Lisbon a more prosperous city include upgrading the tourism cluster, so strategic dimension, improving city management. This improving city management is largely linked, is expanded here, on investing in environmental and social sustainability of tourism, improving the accessibility and mobility, public transportation, and so on, strengthening the security and health services. This is linked to the city management. Prioritizing data gathering and analytics. Now, this was not produced by the creative mode, but it's here. So you get additional information element proposals here. By going to the different modes, you get additional elements. Prioritizing data gathering and analytics, so tourism analytics, developing high-yield tourism and addressing seasonality. So in a report, I'd start by this one and then go to the creative mode for additional elements. Additionally, easing restrictions adopted due to pandemic can facilitate the entry of passengers by air into Portugal and contribute to entering a phase of tourism recovery. So here we have an additional element that was not present in the other, which is linked to the aeronautical sector, importance to tourism, and the issue of restrictions due to the pandemic, which have now been lifted. So, but it's an irrelevant point. Again, how to increase the number of tourists in Lisbon to the other mode, the remaining mode, which is the balanced mode. There are several ways to increase the competitiveness of the tourism cluster to make Lisbon a more prosperous city. Again, it goes to the Michael Porter report. Upgrading the tourism cluster, improving city management, prioritizing data gathering, analytics, and developing high-yield tourism and addressing seasonality. So it makes a synthesis of both, promoting, develop and manage tourism in cities in a way that promotes economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental sustainability. This is covered in the creative mode. Now we have another element for the aeronautical sector that we did not get in the previous ones. So in the previous one, we had easing restrictions of the pandemic to facilitate entry of passengers by air in Portugal and contribute to entering a phase of tourism recovery. Here we have again the aeronautical sector, but regarding low-cost flights, proliferation of short breaks and increase of the number of low-cost flights through Lisbon airport have been pointed out as factors to increase tourism in the Portuguese capital. So combining an intelligence analyst would have to, we see here the limits. So each mode has limits. It did not provide everything. We need to combine the different sources. And there's an issue that was not raised in neither of these answers. None of these answers included one major problem, because that major problem was not yet available in the media at the time where I asked the Bing Chat these questions. The major problem is that Portugal is facing a human resources issue in tourism. It's reaching its peak capacity in terms of tourism response, but tourism has been increasing in Portugal, and it's one of the major drivers of the economy right now, but it needs it has a problem of insufficiency of human resources to number of human resources to respond to that capability. So the recruitment and retention of human resources and the increasing of human resources is a major strategy that needs to be developed for tourism in Portugal in general, Lisbon in particular, for response to growing demand. And then this was not present here in the none of the answers from the chat being identified this. So considering another question for strategy recommendation, this is an interesting question because actually let's read the question. How can Portugal develop a national security strategy? Okay, actually, one might be tempted to answer this question in terms of proposing a national security strategy for Portugal. That's not what the question is asking. It's asking actually, how can Portugal develop a national security strategy? So how can Portugal develop is what steps does it need to take to develop a national security strategy? And what the AI answers is general guidelines, proposes general guidelines to develop a national security strategy. It does not propose a national security strategy for Portugal. So you have to be precise in what you're asking, and you have to check if the question matches exactly what you want to know. So, and in this case, it states that Portugal already has a national security strategy, and you can check it here. I'm not reading this part in detail. It speaks to the it talks about the major aspects of Portugal's national security strategy, but then and this is a part of diagnostics. So it states that Portugal has a national security strategy since 2013, and which defines its vision, principles, values, and strategic objectives for the defense and security of the country. And it provides for a reference that you can consult and check if it's exactly like it, and what's that national security strategy. And then its answer, it's specific, after it does the diagnostic around this, it answers specifically the question that was asked, that is, how can Portugal develop a national security strategy? And it states that to develop or revise its national security strategy, Portugal could follow some best practices suggested by analysts and practitioners, such as conducting a comprehensive assessment of current and future security environment, taking into account both traditional and non-traditional threats and opportunities, engaging in a wide and inclusive consultation process with relevant stakeholders such as government agencies, parliament, civil society, academia, media, private sector, and international partners, establishing clear and realistic priorities, goals, and objectives that reflect Portugal's national interests and values, developing a coherent and flexible framework that guides the implementation of the strategy and allocates resources accordingly, communicating the strategy effectively to both internal and external audiences, explaining its rationale, benefits, and challenges, and monitoring and evaluating the progress and impact of the strategy regularly and adjusting it as needed. So this is the answer actually to the question of how can it develop. It does not. The question did not include what should be Portugal's national strategy. So let's look at another phrasing, another question, another related question, which is now, how can Portugal improve its national security? So the question should match the specific intelligence concerns. You need to be careful how you phrase the question. Now, here it proposes an improvement for Portugal's national security strategy. And it states that the main challenges that Portugal faces, it can improve its national security by addressing some of the main challenges that it faces, such as information warfare. So Portugal is exposed to various forms of information manipulation and influence campaigns that can undermine its democracy, sovereignty, and social cohesion, and can defend itself by strengthening its cyber resilience, enhancing its media literacy and critical thinking skills, promoting a culture of transparency and accountability, and cooperating with its allies and partners to counter disinformation and propaganda. Economic recovery, severely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused a sharp contraction of its GDP, a rise in unemployment and public debt, and a disruption of its key sectors such as tourism and exports during the COVID period. Portugal can recover by making the best use of the EU funds available through the Recovery and Resilience Facility, which aims to support the green and digital transitions, foster social inclusion and cohesion, and boost competitiveness and innovation. So second pillar, economic recovery, and in a sense, economic resilience. Energy transition, Portugal has ambitious goals to achieve carbon neutrality by 2015 and to increase the share of renewable energy sources in its electricity mix to 80% by 2030, and can advance energy transition by investing in energy efficiency, diversifying its renewable energy portfolio, expanding its interconnections with Spain and other EU countries, developing smart grids and storage solutions, and promoting clean mobility and hydrogen. It failed to signalize biosecurity as a major problem, since Portugal has healthcare sector structural problems. And these structural problems were largely exposed during the COVID-19 crisis. And even though Portugal was largely successful in addressing the COVID-19 crisis, those structural problems are currently exposed in the media, and these problems, biosecurity needed, and in general, the pandemic raised the issue of the need for considering strongly biosecurity in national security strategies. Globalization makes pandemics more frequent, and countries need to address biosecurity, not just information security. And the AI failed to signalize this. If we ask the balanced mode, how can Portugal improve its national security strategy? It states that its national security strategy can be improved by promoting national and sectoral cooperation structures for cyberspace protection, again, the cyber domain, including both public and private sectors. It can also ensure the development and application of national and international reference frameworks for cyberspace security management. Portugal makes steady progress towards improving and expanding its military capabilities in line with NATO priorities, while simultaneously prioritizing NATO and US-led security and defense missions and programs. So again, an element of cyber and also here the defense and NATO. Another question, sealing the intelligence and security scenario, future scenario. This is highly uncertainty. There's a high uncertainty here, indeed. But here again, if you ask the question in two different ways, you get two types of answers. Who will win the Russia-Ukraine war? You can ask it like this, or you can ask, for instance, will Putin win the Russia-Ukraine war? So if you ask it for the artificial intelligence on who will win the Russian-Ukraine war, it answers, I'm sorry, but I cannot answer that question. It's impossible to predict the future with certainty, and there are many factors and variables that could influence the outcome of the war. And it states that it is not an expert on military or political affairs and does not have preference or bias for either side. It's only a chat mode of Microsoft Bing search and not a human. So it escapes the question here. Does not answer your question, but it will answer a bit your question if you ask it, if will Putin win the Russian-Ukraine war? And it states that it is a difficult question to answer as the situation is complex and unpredictable. This is a fair diagnosis. However, I can share some information from recent news sources that may help you understand the current state of the conflict. And it offers you more or less a synthesis of the current state of affairs at the time when the question was asked. Especially, and it signalizes specific points that are of relevance that an intelligence analyst might consider. For instance, Russia has moved tactical nuclear weapons to neighboring Belarus, raising the stakes of the war. The Wagner Group presence in Belarus also may signalize some possible shift in the dynamics. So where Putin places the Wagner Group, you may have different dynamics here, and the possibility of the Wagner Group moving strongly to Belarus is one of the issues. The EU has adopted an 11th package of restrictive measures against Russia, so it provides you with a synthesis of some of the elements. And the sources: BBC, Concilium, Europa, EU, MESN, and two other sources, including Portuguese RTP. So the Portuguese television. So because I'm in Portugal, I'm in Lisbon. So and the system is in Portuguese. So even though it's answering the question in English, because I'm asking it in English, it uses sometimes these Portuguese sources. ChatGPT, same question. Will Putin win the Russia-Ukraine war? As an AI, I cannot predict future events or outcomes, including the outcome of the Russia-Ukraine conflict or the political future of any individual, including Vladimir Putin. The situation between Russia and Ukraine is complex and dynamic, influenced by various geopolitical factors, diplomatic efforts, and military actions. The outcome of such conflicts depends on a wide range of factors, including international relations, military strategies, and the will of the people involved. It's important to follow reputable news sources for the latest updates on the situation. Okay, so again, it does not provide scenarios for the Russian future events on the Russian-Ukraine war. As of my knowledge, cut off in September 2021, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, particularly in eastern Ukraine, is ongoing. It is difficult to determine a clear winner in such a complex and fluid situation. The conflict involves military engagements, political dynamics, and the aspirations of different groups within Ukraine. It's important to note that information available in the public domain can be limited, and conflicting reports from different sources may exist. So this is true, and it's linked also to psychological information, psychological warfare, so psyops, psychological information operations, and psyops with the CY ops, cyber psychological operations, psyops. In cyberspace propaganda and so on, and different news reports on this conflict, conflicting reports may provide a problem here. The situation on the ground can change rapidly, and it is advisable to consult reliable and up-to-date news sources for the most recent information on the conflict. Again, it did not answer the question. It sends you to see it yourself, check yourself the main references. Actually, Bing Chat here answered this question with a few references that you can check and provides you for a diagnostic. So it went a little bit further than ChatGPT. As I said before, who is winning the Russia-Ukraine war? So this is a diagnostic of the present, who is now winning the war. And it states that it cannot answer the question with certainty, as the war is still ongoing and the situation is changing rapidly. So it recognizes the uncertainty level associated with it, and the possibility of high strategic surprise associated with it. However, I can share some information from recent sources that may give you some indication of the human cost of the war, and it provides you with the diagnostic. Now, asking the first question, how to increase the number of tourists in Lisbon. Again, for comparison, we already saw the answer from ChatGPT, from Bing Chat. Let's look at how ChatGPT answers this question. A proposal of a strategic course of action. And here we will see that ChatGPT provides you with a more complete answer than Bing Chat. So looking at this, it states that increasing the number of tourists in a city like Lisbon involves a combination of strategic planning, marketing efforts, and creating positive visitor experience. So here we have a major point, the positive visitor experience. Here are some general strategies that can help attract more tourists to Lisbon. So you should use different engines, different generative AI engines. ChatGPT, when you're looking for a strategic course of action, you should look for use different engines. ChatGPT, Bing Chat, the different modes of Bing Chat, and use these as different intelligence sources and combine them and produce your own report. So the human analyst can use these different elements and combine them. And produce a synthesis. Enhanced infrastructure and amenities to improve transportation options. This also was proposed by Bing Chat. Maintain high quality roads, public transportation, airport facilities, enhance tourist amenities such as signage, public facilities, and tourist information centers to make it easier for visitors to navigate and enjoy the city. Okay, this is convergent. Cultural and historical promotion, again convergent. Highlight the rich cultural and historical heritage of Lisbon, invest in preserving and promoting historical sites, museum, art galleries, and cultural events, engage with the local community and encourage their participation in showcasing their heritage. So again, stakeholder involvement here. Marketing and branding. Developed effective marketing campaigns to promote Lisbon as a tourist destination, utilizing various channels such as digital marketing, social media, travel websites, and traditional advertising to reach a wide audience, emphasize the unique aspects of Lisbon, such as its architecture, gastronomy, vibrant nightlife, and the charm of its neighborhoods. Again, so here we have here a development that was already also proposed in Bing Chat, but it is here more developed, a little bit more developed. Collaborate with the tourism industry, work closely with hotels, restaurants, travel agencies, and other tourism-related businesses to develop attractive packages, discounts, and incentives for visitors, encourage local businesses to offer exceptional service and experience to tourists, develop niche tourism offerings, identify niche markets that may be interested in specific aspects of Lisbon, such as cultural tourism, food and wine industry, adventure tourism, or sustainable tourism, develop specialized tours, experiences, and events that cater to these interests. Improve visitor experience. So you have there different tourism development lines in the point 5. 6, improve visitor experience, focusing on providing a positive and memorable experience for tourists, enhance the hospitality training for service providers. Here we have some human resources training, ensure cleanliness and safety in tourist areas, and offer quality customer service, encourage locals to be welcoming and hospitable to visitors, foster partnerships and collaborations, collaborate with other cities, travel organizations, and international entities, promote Lisbon as part of larger tourism circuits or multi-destination itineraries. So participate in tourism fairs, conferences, and events to establish connections and attract interest from travel professionals. Okay. Emphasize sustainability. Again, like being chat, promote sustainable tourism practices that respect the environment, cultural, and local communities. Highlight Lisbon's commitment to sustainability through initiatives such as eco-friendly accommodations, public transportation, and responsible tourism activities. And it's worth noticing that specific strategies should be tailored to the unique characteristics of Lisbon and its target audience, consulting with local tourism authorities, industry professionals, and conducting market research that can provide valuable insights for designing effective tourism promotion plans. So here you have a fairly good strategy for tourism, strategic direction. It's not completely detailed. Further elements would need to be developed, but you have a fairly complete proposal here for strategic development of Lisbon as a tourist destination. Again, it failed to identify, although it mentions human resources importance, it failed to identify the need for recruitment and employee retention. So this is wraps up part 3. Part 4, risk management and artificial intelligence. In this part, we'll not be dealing with generative AI. We'll be dealing with another type of artificial intelligence, which is an adaptive machine learning AI system that will be predicting COVID-19. So this is another application of AI that we'll be looking at. So this is from risks, is application of AI in risk management. All types of AI can be applied to risk management, including generative AI, depends on the problem. Risk science here is the digitalization of risk science is involved here with new methods, including artificial intelligence. So risk science takes risk as its object of research and problem, working it from the paradigmatic basis of the complexity sciences. And here risk is worked from its foundational, from its etymological root in the medieval Latin term resicum, which synthesized in the context of maritime law the 3 notions of periculum, a peril, threat, fortuna, fortune, luck, destiny, and uncertainty. To play, that is to play for one's destiny in situations where there are threats and opportunities with an outcome still open or unknown to the player. So risk is a name for a concrete systemic situation involving threats, opportunities, and uncertainty. One must not confuse then risk in systemic terms with the human measurement of risk using probabilities. And here intelligence needs, there are specific intelligence needs concerning risk that involve identifying and monitoring threats and predicting the dynamics of target risk variables. These are major intelligence concerns. There are 2 main methods for intelligence analysis targeting strategic threats. The first is the threat-based, identification-based method, that is to identify the main threats to a system and analyze them in terms of consequences for an organization and strategic responses to those threats. This works for both. This threat identification based method works for both intelligence and security and business intelligence. The second method, which also works for any type of organization, both intelligence and security, economic side, business intelligence. So this is the critical points based method or vital points based method. That is, if you do not know all the threats, you can prepare for unknown threats, identifying critical points in the system for which the failure would produce a disruption in the system. For supply chains and logistics management, this is a major point, because even you may the threat identification method needs to be employed, but also the critical points based method. If this part of the supply chain is affected, what will happen? This is the critical points based method, identifying vital points. So if that vital point fails, is disrupted, what happens? And what is the contingency plan that I can make for that? This is not a specific threat, any threat that could disrupt that. This considers if that point fails, it does not work, what will happen? Independently of the types of threat or of a changing threat landscape. This allows you to prepare for unknown threats. And identifying the critical points in the system for which a failure would produce a disruption in the system, and classifying these critical points in terms of level of importance for the system's functioning, preparing contingency plans for their failure. Major theories of interest for risk science include networks, complexity, stochastic chaos, and chaos. So chaos theory, which includes stochastic and deterministic chaos. Risk and emergence are key issues of 21st century research on risk. It includes two major areas of research, include within the complexity sciences and so on, include chaos theory, applications of chaos theory, and self-organized criticality theory. These are two major points of interest for risk science. Chaos theory, because it focuses us to distinguish between the risk associated with external shocks that disrupt the system from without and the risk endogenously generated by the system's own nonlinear dynamics. So, and this is chaos theory. And chaos theory research involves study of bifurcations and catastrophes, called bifurcation theory and catastrophe theory, are two related theories. Study of transitions from periodic or quasi-periodic dynamics to chaotic dynamics. Study of chaotic attractors and markers of chaos in different systems, ranging from physics to biology, computer science, social sciences, and so on. Modeling of turbulence and complexity research, including networks of chaotic oscillators, for instance, for complex systems research and risk in complex networks. Strongly linked to computer science also, the link between algorithmic randomness and chaos, as well as application of machine learning in the prediction of chaotic dynamics. Both deterministic chaotic dynamics and noisy chaotic dynamics, which is the domain of stochastic chaos, of the so-called stochastic chaos. So, and this is one of my main current areas of research within risk analysis and intelligence analysis, which is the application of chaos theory and artificial intelligence, combining topological data analysis to risk variables and time series. Self-organized criticality is another phenomenon that results from the it was identified in the observation of multifractal and fractal scaling and long memory in risk events like earthquakes, financial crisis, biological evolution in terms of, for instance, extinction patterns, and the occurrence of these same signatures in physical phase transitions. It led to the conjecture that many complex systems may self-organize to critical dynamics, explaining one power law scaling in spectral analysis and power law scaling in extreme events probability distributions. This power law scaling means that we have a fractal structure in self-similar structure in probability distribution itself of risk variables. And chaos is one possible source of self-organized criticality. This was shown in an article I published on coupled stochastic chaos, which use coupled nonlinear maps and coupled chaotic maps that produce multifractal turbulence and power law scaling improbabilities in an artificial financial market. This was published in the International Journal of Swarm Intelligence and Evolutionary Computation. So this was one of the which clearly showed how multifractal and fractal self-organized criticality can emerge in a chaotic maps, both low-dimensional and high-dimensional connections in a complex market research. Self-organized criticality means that extreme events are not outside the same dynamics order that underlies the small events. The extreme events are not actually outliers. They are outliers, appear as outliers in a normal statistic plot, but in a doubly log plot, they are not outliers. There is an unbroken fractal scaling from the large extreme events to the small events, so that we know that we can have a sudden catastrophe, but that catastrophe is not outside the normal order of the system. So an outlier that can be identified in a normal statistical analysis is actually within the order of the system regarding in the statistical order of the system identified, which has an unbroken fractal scaling. The same process that is responsible for the big event is responsible for the small events. And this is self-organized criticality. Chaos can lead to self-organized criticality. It's as discussed in this article in finance, but this is called chaos-induced self-organized criticality, and it corresponds to so-called color chaos or power law chaos. Are chaotic systems predictable? This is a major issue. They are predictable within limits depending on the type of chaotic attractor and the recurrences associated with it, so the topological order associated with the attractor, and the strength of the so-called butterfly effect, since chaotic systems are characterized by one thing, which is chaotic dynamics are characterized by exponential divergence to initial conditions. So small differences in initial conditions, a sensitive dependence upon initial conditions, a small deviation will lead to a large change in the future. And in the case of noisy chaos, this means that so stochastic chaos, this means that small fluctuations in noise terms will be amplified and lead to different divergences in terms of dynamics. So depending on the type of chaotic system from a signal, however, the stronger the butterfly effect, or the faster this uncertainty sets in regarding even deviations in the measurement of the initial conditions, even in the case of deterministic chaos, you'll have a different trajectory. It's that idea of the flapping of the butterfly the wings in one part of the world produces a hurricane in another part. It's that metaphorical point, but this means that small deviations will produce a different trajectory after a few steps. It's a fundamental uncertainty because you always use for our systems in terms of simulation, because if you simulate in different softwares the same system with the same equations, but different rounding decimal points rounding, and you always use different decimal points rounding, you obtain a different trajectory in these different simulations. And these trajectories in turn will be different from the system's own trajectory, even in the case of deterministic chaos. So this is one of the major problems. The predictability of a chaotic system is dependent on two aspects. The faster this butterfly effect, this sensitivity is, settles in, which is linked to largest Lyapunov exponent and the so-called Lyapunov time. The faster this uncertainty occurs, and the faster this divergence occurs, leads to a lower predictability. However, recurrences, topological recurrences associated with the chaotic attractor, regularities associated with the topological structure in chaos, the more complex topological order that is chaos, which can be considered as a form of order, of more complex order, an order in randomness in the sense. This topological order can be captured in an attractor reconstruction from a signal and be used by machine learning to predict the system's dynamics with some approximation using adaptive AI solutions. So this is where this dynamics can where it can be used, and AI in risk prediction and healthcare strategic analysis. These are two examples of my most recent research, which identified low-dimensional chaotic attractors in SARS-CoV-2's regional epidemiological data, namely the number of deaths per million and the number of new cases per million for different regions of the world, as well as the daily hospital occupancy from COVID-19, both in the US and Canada, all show low-dimensional chaotic attractors near the onset of chaos, that is near a bifurcation point from a periodic order to orbit to a chaotic orbit. So this is the main dynamics, and it was identified in this time series without knowing the equations. Tractor reconstruction methods were applied for space embedding, and this was used to predict the tractor topology. Was used by a topological learner, so an AI system that relearns, adapts to the system's dynamics using the recurrences, relearns to predict the target, and in this adaptation it can predict the target series, in this case the risk series, using a dynamical using in this sense the topological signatures of chaos. These are the series, the number of new cases per million, and the number of new deaths per million from the article, the 2022 article. And we have here, when we see that it's more or less a turbulence dynamics. For Oceania, there was a bifurcation, and this the AI was capable of capturing the onset of the bifurcation, the occurrence of the bifurcation from one chaotic orbit to another, to a more turbulent chaotic orbit, and was able to predict the dynamics even in the occurrence of a bifurcation. We'll see that soon enough. So, and we have it here. I'll present the results after a few points regarding chaos. So chaos can be defined as a bounded aperiodic dynamics. This is from the article, with the sensitive dependence upon initial conditions that exhibits dynamical sequence that is random looking, with spectral signatures that are akin to stochastic processes. To a stochastic process, in this sense, deterministic chaos is often considered as a form of endogenous pseudo-random dynamics in the deterministic system without any noise term. And this type of chaos is closed in the sense that there is no external environment leading to external random noise. However, in complex systems in nature, deterministic chaos is closed. Open chaos occurs when you have external, usually in nature you have open chaos, that is an open system where we need to consider the influence of the environment, usually in terms of random noise terms, or more that can be more or less structured depending on the system. When we have complex systems which are open and interact non-linearly with an environment, we never have a fully closed deterministic process. So noise is always present, and this leads to stochastic chaos, which is an open chaos dynamics. And in the case of this series, we have stochastic. This is largely stochastic chaos in epidemiological data. Stochastic chaos we have this process, which includes if we were to disconnect the noise term, we would have deterministic chaos. Adding the noise term, we have here additional influence. The main problem with stochastic chaos is that noise is integrated into the dynamics and contributes to it, and the range of such a dynamics is very wide. So one can have noise-induced chaos, an example of which is the destruction of periodic windows through noise in a nonlinear dynamical system. And one can also have high-dimensional or low-dimensional attractors, depending on the relation between the external stochastic component, the noise, and the internal nonlinear dynamical component. In the case of the different regions, the main chaotic time series do lead to a low-dimensional chaotic attractor, three-dimensional attractor for all of them. In the case of these of the major regions and the number of new cases per million, and all with the largest positive largest Lyapunov exponents, but low positive Lyapunov exponents, which are typical of a chaotic dynamics near the onset of chaos, near a bifurcation point between a periodic orbit and a chaotic orbit. For the new deaths per million, we have some diversity in terms of attractor dimension, 5, 3, 4, 5, 4. So depending on the region, the percentage of nearest neighbors is usually low, which indicates a noisy chaos, but close to deterministic chaos. But there will be some amount of noise here. So we have a certain level of stochastic chaos. Interesting, Africa has 0% of nearest neighbors in the embedding dimension 5. Of false nearest neighbors. False nearest neighbors. What is false nearest neighbors? It's a method of embedding where you can increase, as you increase the number of dimensions, if you project a high dimensional complex attractor in a lower dimensional space, there will be noisy like terms that result from the fact that you're projecting a higher dimensional object to a lower dimensional space. There is a dimension, an embedding dimension, after which you get the actual structure, hyperdimensional structure of an attractor, and this is the lowest percentage of false nearest neighbor. This is a method that can be used for embedding, reconstructing an attractor with its with the geometry of phase space that is needed to reconstruct that attractor. Here we have the power spectrum of different regions, which show power law scaling, which is typical of self-organized criticality, but also a few peaks in the high frequency region, which indicate a near onset of chaos. And they all have, in South Africa, North America, we all see these peaks, these regularity peaks in the high frequency region, which indicate dynamics near the onset of chaos. Now, what's of interest to us is how the AI predicts them, and we find that R-square scores, both for for prediction, for a one-step ahead prediction of the number of new cases per million and number of new deaths per million, we find here scores that are near that are above 77%, and that range up to 91.68% of R-square. So a very high correlation between the AI predictions, the adaptive AI, and it uses a nearest neighbor topological learner that with a sliding window learning, so it relearns. It is capable of adapting to different epochs of the attractor, and using the reconstructed attractor, it predicts the next step of the target series with a high efficiency. So here we see with a high accuracy, so a very high both series. And here we see one major issue, which is the application of chaos theory, topological data analysis, which was also applied, and AI using topological learner to predict a risk variable. This is how AI can also be employed in risk prediction. You have here the root mean square error, the correlation, the R2 score. So again, and also for the bifurcation that occurred in Oceania, we obtained high performance, which was the relevant point. We also can predict in the case of daily hospital occupancy. We find again that there is an embedding. We find that is a 9-dimensional attractor for US and 6-dimensional attractor for Canada. With a higher Lyapunov exponent for Canada than for the US. The US is nearer the onset of chaos than Canada. But applying the AI, we can predict up to 42 days ahead. So more than a month ahead, the hospital occupancies using the AI, the adaptive AI, with a 96.14% coefficient of determination, R squared, and a 95.21% in the case of 42 days. And so this is as the more into the future, the lower our R square scores, but the R square scores are really high, up to 42 days ahead. So these AIs could be employed by hospital management to predict in the short term, but more than 1 month ahead, what will be the hospital occupancy, including peaks in hospital occupancy from COVID-19. And this is how AI can be used to predict target series and for management of in terms of for planning to risk response in the context of a crisis, in this case, the management of pandemics. Last point, part 5, we deal with the dark side of generative AI and the lessons for intelligence and security. So in this last part, we have AI, chaos, and risk management. Even without access to the system of dynamical equations, as we saw, adaptive AI solutions with integrated machine learning are capable of predicting, well, noisy chaotic dynamics by learning the topological regularities associated with chaos and be applied to risk prediction. They have high prediction performance, even in the presence of bifurcation with attractive changes, and can be employed for the reduction of strategic surprise. This is one of the advantages. We also used AI for strategic intelligence, saw the advantages of the use of AI. Now let's look at the dark side of generative AI, namely. So generative AI can be used for cyber active measures that can disrupt systems. You can use generative AI to write code, or that is, it accelerates code writing with increasing innovation in code writing systems. The software development cycle can be greatly accelerated using faster updates, bug fixes, and even developing new AI systems where you ask the AI to program to code the solution that you need. You can ask a generative AI to code an AI, to code a cyber weapon, to code malware. And this may lead to the possibility of hackers to deploy tailor-made advanced cyber weapons rapidly programmed by AI systems. Even script kiddies that they just need to type what kind of software they need. This is a major concern for corporate cybersecurity, but also for the defense and security side, in general, for countries' defense and security. To produce speech, political speech can be designed by AIs to meet specific target audience standards, and they can be used in state-sponsored and non-state-sponsored cyber psychological operations, PSYOPs, using online bots that interact with people and spread propaganda, fake content, and conspiracies, including producing strategic narrative bubbles that can be used for agitation, propaganda, subversion. So hybrid warfare. To produce deepfake images and videos can enhance strategic narrative bubbles that can be dispersed online on social media and alternate media for agitation, propaganda, and subversion. So we have here intelligence warfare that can employ artificial intelligence in turn. What is intelligence warfare? The concept of information warfare is a major issue, especially in the evaluation and of the profile of hybrid strategies in 21st century. However, the more appropriate concept to the current environment is intelligence warfare, since it is a production and it can be understood as as warfare that employs intelligence activities, where intelligence activities are employed for warfare. This is intelligence warfare. So it is the production of intelligence and intelligence activities that open up the way for low-cost, highly disruptive, asymmetric hybrid strategies that take advantage of cyberspace and their implementation. And this intelligence warfare can be considered as the backbone of 21st century hybrid warfare maneuvers. In this new strategic environment, there is an increasing reinforcement loop between intelligence operations and hybrid warfare, so much so that intelligence operations can be used as a way to implement hybrid operations. And in this way can be stated that intelligence warfare can be understood as a warfare that is based on the synergization of intelligence operations and hybrid operations. And as stated, backbone can be considered as the backbone of 21st century hybrid warfare, with PSYOPs, cyber psychological operations, at the center of this disruptive ability. And AI is poised to transform this. It's also important to stress that this is not new. Intelligence warfare is very old, and the Japan it's contained in both Chinese classics of military classics, the Tycoon's Six Secret Teachings and Sun Tzu's Art of War. It was expertly employed in Japan in a system of methods and techniques called Shinobi no Jutsu or Ninjutsu. Ninjutsu is not a martial art. It's important to stress that not a system of hand-to-hand combat or use of weapons. Actually, it's Shinobi no Jutsu or Ninjutsu is a set of is the body of knowledge around espionage, and it's a asymmetric and hybrid warfare school built around intelligence warfare. So if you pick up any of the historical texts on ninjutsu or shinobi no jutsu, you won't find any hand-to-hand combat techniques or methods. You'll find espionage methods, hybrid warfare methods, psychological warfare methods, and this is the core of shinobi no jutsu, as well as asymmetric warfare, guerrilla warfare, sabotage, so on, that were employed by the shinobi. And what is important here is we have a resurfacing of this, namely of a point that in Japan, there was intelligence mercenarism, some ninja or shinobi warriors who were many from the samurai class and other from the ashigaru, that is the foot soldiers, the infantry and the cavalry, samurai infantry, the ashigaru. They were employed as shinobi, as spies. So that opposition between shinobi and samurai isn't exactly correct. But some of them, especially from the regions of Iga and Koka, were hired as intelligence operatives, mercenarism, intelligence mercenarism. And we now also have the resurfacing, as we saw in the beginning of our presentation, in the new intelligence markets of intelligence mercenarism, especially hackers. So in the case of the intelligence warfare methods and school of thought the Japanese intelligence classics, which includes the Bansen Shukai and other classics, are very operative today, and they were employed in recent works that I did around hybrid warfare, recent publications, including a book chapter and a book that has already been quoted in this presentation. Intelligence infiltration, in the case Yonin and Inin, was the division of the two main areas, approaches to Shinobi no Jutsu. Yonin was infiltration or Yojutsu. Yonin infiltration refers to the infiltration jutsu to the techniques. So Yojutsu and used in Yonin involved infiltrating the enemy in plain sight. Yo is yang. The concept of yin and yang. Yo is the Japanese pronunciation of yang. In is the Japanese pronunciation of yin. So this Taoist concept is present here. Yojutsu involved infiltrating the enemy in plain sight using long-term undercover agents. In and in jutsu, the techniques in jutsu involve stealing in, hiding from the enemy. So we have also cyber yonin and cyber inin, two concepts that I proposed in a recent publication in a book. On this, it's an ebook that is available online. I'll place the main references to this in this presentation under my the video description. We also have cyber in the form of cyber intrusion to steal data, disrupt systems, or initiate a hybrid campaign. And cyber yonin, we can use this and newly created fake accounts, deploying bots and engineering online echo chambers to spread fake rumors, produce trending topics. So use of cyber online disguises. Cyber in is penetration under stealth, that the hacker is trying not to be uncovered and for stealing data, disrupting systems, or initiating hybrid campaigns with the data stolen. But cyber yonin, you're using online fake accounts, basically, the so-called disguise, and networks of fake accounts, deploying bots, engineering online echo chambers to spread fake rumors, produce trending topics with fake contents, and with links to fake news websites and other elements that spread political propaganda, using the ability of social media to influence behaviors to create dissent in a country. So how does AI support this? The AI supports both cyber inin and cyber yonin as two major elements of 21st century intelligence warfare. And they provide a new form of coding, especially generative AI, a new form of coding. And I'll show that now by clicking on this link, this web link, which goes to the Twitter, and I'm interrupting this, and let's look at here. So this is a tweet from Chris Kashtanova for her Twitter account, and you're seeing here a programmed video game using GPT-4, using a generative AI. And she states, just making sure that okay, it's here. Yeah, she states that it took her 5 minutes to code this game using a code interpreter in ChatGPT, and she programmed this game 5 minutes. So this helps enhance the coding. So, and this is the major issue from an intelligence and security standpoint for both states' intelligence and security, defense and security, but also corporate and any organization's cybersecurity. This is a major problem because AI can be used, generative AI can be used to code malware. And we have here already this type of tool, which is called WormGPT, a new AI tool that allows cyber criminals to launch sophisticated cyber attacks. This is from the piece from the Hacker News 2023 piece that states that with generative AI, artificial intelligence, generative AI, we have the technology has been repurposed by malicious actors to their own advantage, enabling avenues for accelerated cybercrime. So this is the new risk. This is one of the dark sides of generative AI. According to findings from /Next, a new generative AI cybercrime tool called WormGPT has been advertised on underground forums as a way for adversaries to launch sophisticated phishing and business email compromise attacks. So BEC attacks. So this is a problem, and this is the dark side of generative intelligence, of the generative AI. generative artificial intelligence. It can be used even to compromise with the automation of the process of intelligence production. New software can also be used to compromise the intelligence production, poison intelligence production, and these are the major issues regarding the development of AI, especially generative AI, which has been one of the major topics in this presentation, and it was also in the other talks by the other conference participants. They will also mention generative AI. But here we went into a great detail into generative AI, both its uses and its advantages for different organizations, but as well as its dark side. And its dark side has greatly increased the threat landscape regarding the use of the possibility of coding malware for cyber operations, for cyber warfare, for information warfare, and in a sense for intelligence warfare. These are the new intelligence warfare technologies. So this wraps up our talk. This was which covered the use of AI, the role of AI in intelligence, both from a defense and security standpoint and from the standpoint of business intelligence, economic intelligence, and so on. So bye for now, and the video will be made available with some of the references that were quoted here that you can consult, and the video description.